Hello and welcome. Recently, I have fallen absolutely in love with e-readers. With their beautiful screens and amazing endurance and portability, they remind me of Game Boys of old, which got me thinking. Since an e-reader is just a glorified tablet with an e-paper display, can I play games on them? Am I just limited to puzzle and card games, or could I play something as far-fetched as Doom? Or is the e-reader platform so locked down and restricted that nobody can bother or figure out a way to play games on them? Well, today I'm going to try and play some games on the mini e-readers that I own. But before I do, today's video is brought to you by us and our GLoA e-reader cases. Our GLoA e-reader cases are both extensively tested and repairable, and if you have the right e-reader case, with a simple arm swap can even be upgradable. So if you're interested in taking a look at our e-reader cases or just want to support the channel, why not visit 16bitstore.com today and see what we have on offer. I will have links in the description below. Now, on official devices like the Kindle, the manufacturer doesn't want nor messages that their systems can even play games, since they're supposed to be serious devices for serious book readers. They don't sell you games, they sell you books. But it's not as if the hardware couldn't play games. In fact, there's a common advice amongst Kindle Scribe owners that if you want to play Sudoku on your Kindle Scribe, you're better off going to the Kindle store, buying a Sudoku book, and scribbling in the answers with the stylus. But if you are looking to play games like chess on your Kindle, you may need to jailbreak it or run it in the Kindle's arguably great web browser that can run a lot of JavaScript games without issue. Though, if you really want a multifunctional e-reader that can play games, you really should think about getting a Kobo instead, since it actually includes pre-installed games out of the box. As well, there's a lot more homebrew attention on it with the nickel menu, which will actually let you play some pretty fun homebrew. Even if a Kobo doesn't have the games in the beta menu, one could enable them by going to search and typing in DevMode on. This will enable the developer menu, which will give you access to the games. However, if you're going to just put the effort in to go around all those locked in restrictions, why bother fighting with a device that's as low power and as low spec as this, when you can just cut through all the crap and get your hands on an Android power e-reader like this Onyx Book Nova 3 Color. And unlike the Kobos, which could barely run their games at all, here I can just install any Android game I want from any app store. This means that I can play chess, checkers, Sudoku, Go, and more without having to go through all the rigmarole. And even on a modern e-ink display, especially in speed mode, it's a nicer experience too. Obviously, this isn't perfect. There's ghosting, but I find it less annoying with a color display. But I feel my e-reader could do more. I mean, cards and board games are fine, but this is an Android powered e-reader. There's nothing that should technically stop me from turning it on its side and playing some good old Doom. Well, with one free Doom install later and downloading a copy over the game files that requires to play it, and wow, it's not completely awful. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can barely see where I'm going because it's so dark, but I mean, considering what I'm playing on, I consider this to be quite playable. However, while Doom is good, Wolfenstein 3D is better, and with EC Wolf, it plays just as well, especially since I can actually see what I'm doing. Outside of the touch controls being laggy, I'm actually surprised that this e-reader can play games at all. But hey, why should I stop at Doom? If 3D games work on this, why can't 2D games? So, with a simple RetroArch install later, I was ready to go and play some of my backed up classic games. And the interface doesn't work. Really weird to see that, especially since Doom works so well. But you know what? Pairing a Bluetooth controller to this thing, which was primarily designed for audiobooks, should be fine. And yeah, it is. So let's go and play some good old Sonic the Hedgehog to see just how amazing of an e-reader experience this will be. And this is certainly an experience. I mean, the game is technically playable, especially if I mirrorcast it, but there's just so much ghosting that I can't make out where I am on the e-reader, let alone where I'm going. But hey, it plays, so maybe an older and slower game may work a little bit better, but yeah, that's not right. I thought NES games would be fine, but hey, you know what? Maybe Game Boy games would look and play better. I mean, it's a black and white game. How bad can it be on an e-reader? I mean, well, this is definitely playable, but this really isn't what I imagined playing Game Boy games on an e-reader to be like. So to get to the bottom of this, I decided to go and play a wide variety of games from a wide variety of systems. And there's a couple of facts that I discovered while doing so. The first is that while 2D games may seem like a really good option for an e-reader, it hits the e-reader's display in just the right way that the screen doesn't really know what to do with it. Flashing a pixel back and forth may seem like a really good way to do simple motion on a CRT, but on an e-reader, that kind of motion actually results in what appears to be skipped animations. But if you connect this to a proper display, you'll know that the system is actually processing it correctly. And the second is that there is a substantial amount of processing that's required for an e-paper display to update. As a result, there is a substantial delay for when you press a button and the e-ink finally gets to the point where it's ready to update, which makes every game that I play feel really laggy. As a result, I find that if you're trying to play older games on an e-reader, you're better off with games that don't require action or a lot of specific and precise button inputs. Mostly RPGs work really well on this thing. So a Pokemon or a Chrono Trigger works flawlessly, even if the colors do look a little bit crushed. But even then, I expected a better showing from this e-reader, especially with my initial impressions with Doom and Wolfenstein. And that got me thinking, maybe the issue isn't the fact that 2D games don't work really well on it, but more the fact that 3D games may be oddly optimized for this display. So I flipped her back to her side and tried the Super Nintendo port of Wolfenstein 3D to see if that theory would make sense. And strangely enough, it worked well. And that got me thinking, if this screen was optimized for smooth scrolling, then maybe the smooth animations from a 3D game will work better on this display. With an N64 and PlayStation games and cores installed, I decided to give that theory a bit of a test, and my God, it's playable. I mean, the frame rates leave much to be desired, but from Mario to Crash, I was able to play the games and not have an absolutely awful experience. And to even prove a point, I was even able to do a complete race in Crash Team Racing. So yes, you can play games on your e-reader, and it's a lot more playable than I expected it to be, especially for card and board games. But it certainly isn't the best experience to set up or to play. I'm just really surprised with how far e-ink has come with their display technology. And if it wasn't for that naggy little input lags, these wouldn't be bad devices to play games on, especially if it has Android installed. Heck, my e-reader certainly has enough power to even play GameCube games if it wasn't for the display. Although, if I am honest, an e-reader really does feel more at home with those board and card games, or, let's be honest here, with a book. Especially compared to it's struggling to run action and racing games. But anyways, thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you have yourself a good day, and as always, take care.